Spice and Jasmine exchanging words over a casual conversation that quickly escalated. Both women, known for their fiery personalities, had a history of tension, but no one could have predicted just how explosive things would get. Celebrity Insider News. Spice, with her reputation for speaking her mind and never backing down, wasn't about to let anyone challenge her. Jasmine, on the other hand, had always been a woman with a complex relationship to those around her, particularly with her connection to Scrappy and her tumultuous history in the scene. She had always been a lightning rod for drama, and in this moment, she would prove that her temper could match anyone's. The disagreement began with a comment from Jasmine that seemed to set Spice off. But what happened next took everyone by surprise. Spice, who had already been dealing with personal struggles and professional challenges, wasn't in the mood for any disrespect. The words quickly turned sharper, the air thick with animosity. Jasmine, not one to back down either, retaliated with a sharp retort. And before anyone could intervene, the tension exploded into a full-blown confrontation. The chaos erupted in a flurry of insults and accusations, with neither woman willing to relent. As the altercation reached its peak, the other women in the group watched in shock, knowing this was more than just another argument. It was a pivotal moment that would define the ongoing drama within the group. Spice, known for her unapologetic attitude, wasn't about to let Jasmine get the best of her, and Jasmine, who had always struggled to fit in with the other ladies, wasn't about to back down either. This emotional storm was about to shake up the entire scene, setting the stage for even more explosive moments to come. The aftermath of this altercation would have lasting effects on their relationships with each other, further complicating their already turbulent lives in Atlanta's entertainment world. The room fell into a stunned silence as the sound of Spice's slap echoed through the air, a sharp reminder of how quickly things could escalate in this world of love and hip-hop. Jasmine, who had never been one to let anyone walk over her, was taken aback for a moment but quickly recovered, her face flushed with a mix of anger and humiliation. Her eyes locked onto Spice, a storm brewing behind them, but the tension in the room was palpable. The other women, already uncomfortable with the growing animosity, exchanged glances, unsure of how to react. Jasmine wasn't one to let disrespect slide, and in an instant, she was on her feet, her own fury now matching Spice's. "You think you can just hit me and get away with it?" she snapped, her voice cold but laced with venom. Spice, not one to shy away from confrontation, stepped forward, her body language aggressive, daring Jasmine to do something about it. The space between them seemed to shrink, the energy in the room crackling with the potential for even more violence. It was clear this wasn't just an argument, it was a full-on battle for dominance. The other women, unsure of how to handle the situation, remained frozen in place, watching as these two powerhouses clashed. Both women had a reputation for being unapologetically bold, but this altercation was a breaking point, and neither was willing to back down. The emotional storm that had been brewing between them for weeks finally erupted, and what started as a simple conversation had now turned into a volatile confrontation that would have lasting repercussions for the group dynamic. Jasmine stood there for a moment, frozen, her hand still pressed to her cheek as the sting from the slap began to register. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating, as if every eye was on her, waiting for her to react. But instead, she remained still, her chest rising and falling with shallow breaths as her mind raced to process what had just transpired. Spice, too, stood motionless for a brief moment, clearly realizing the weight of what she had done. Her eyes softened for a split second before her hardened demeanor returned, as if trying to justify her actions. The silence was deafening, and for a few heartbeats, it felt as though time itself had paused. The gravity of the situation was not lost on anyone present. The slap wasn't just a physical blow, it was the culmination of months of unresolved tension, personal vendettas, and the simmering anger that had been quietly bubbling beneath the surface. Jasmine's disbelief was palpable. She'd been on the receiving end of plenty of verbal blows before, but this was something different. It wasn't just an attack on her pride, it was a blatant challenge to her character and her place within the group. Slowly, Jasmine's eyes narrowed, and the hurt began to morph into something darker. She was no stranger to drama, but this was personal. She wasn't going to let it slide. With a deep, steadying breath, she finally spoke. her voice low and simmering with the promise of retaliation. "You messed up, Spice," she said, her words biting. "You don't know who you're playing with." The room collectively held its breath, fully aware that this confrontation was far from over. The storm had only just begun. The tension in the room hung thick, and it was clear that neither woman knew exactly how to move forward from this. Jasmine, still holding her cheek where the slap had landed, was struggling to process the hurt. But more than that, she was trying to control her emotions. She was used to verbal sparring, but the slap was a line she never thought would be crossed. "You didn't have to do that," she repeated, her voice quieter this time, but no less cutting. Her words stung, both as a plea and a reminder that she had not provoked this. It was a choice Spice had made in a moment of anger. Spice, usually the embodiment of confidence, looked almost vulnerable for a fleeting second. Her usual bravado had vanished, replaced by a shaky vulnerability. She took a deep breath, and for the first time it was clear she was not justifying her actions, but acknowledging them. "I just couldn't take it anymore," she muttered, her voice tinged with regret. It was a rare admission of weakness from Spice, who prided herself on being the unshakable force in the room. But there was something about Jasmine's presence that seemed to trigger something deeper, something unresolved in Spice's own past that had finally reached its breaking point. Jasmine's expression hardened, and she stood a little taller, as if to protect herself from the vulnerability Spice had just shared. "That's not an excuse," she replied, her words sharp. "No matter what's going on, you never get to do that to me, or anyone." Her voice trembled, but not from fear, more from the realization that she had been pushed past her limit. Both women were still standing on the edge of an emotional cliff, neither willing to take a step back, but both aware that whatever happened next would mark them forever. The cameras in the room continued rolling, capturing every word, every emotion, knowing that this moment would go down as one of the most defining of their tumultuous relationship. The aftermath of the confrontation quickly reverberated across social media, with fans and co-stars alike weighing in on the explosive moment. As the scene aired, the public's reaction was divided, reflecting the complexities of both women's personalities. Some fans took to social media to offer support to Spice, acknowledging the pressure she had been under for weeks and the emotional weight she carried. They speculated that her outburst was rooted in unresolved past trauma, and that this explosive moment was just a symptom of deeper issues that she hadn't fully addressed. On the other side, many fans stood by Jasmine, condemning the violence and reminding everyone that no matter the conflict, physical assault should never be tolerated. Some questioned whether reality TV and the entertainment industry as a whole should allow such behavior to be justified as part of the show. These fans were concerned that this kind of violence could normalize toxic behavior, especially for younger audiences who were influenced by what they saw on screen. Jasmine's supporters called for more accountability, urging networks and producers to rethink how they showcased conflict, suggesting that such intense emotional outbursts shouldn't be exploited for the sake of ratings. The incident marked a turning point in both Jasmine's and Spice's careers, leaving an indelible mark on their personal and professional journeys. Thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon for more inside news.